We are going to close out the month of April's bolos. Brendan here, Dad Planet. Welcome back to the One Man Show. So this is another What's Sold on eBay video. We are covering the end of April, April 22nd through the 30th. Some of these are amazing finds, so I really want you to hone in on them, but I'm very excited to feature all of this. I'm gonna go over what I did for those last 9 days in April, and then I'll show you how I did for the entire month, and I'll also show you how much I spent on cost of goods sold for the entire month, so stay tuned. All right, April 22nd through the 30th, 27 in gross, just a little under 1,800 in net. Selling cost rate where they normally are, although my average sales price ramped up a little bit towards the end of the month here, which was great. So let's take a look at how I did for the entire month of April, and there's some insights that I want to let you in on here. So for the 1st through the 30th, the full month, just over 10,000. My selling costs are basically perfect at 30%, which is about 15% shipping costs and 15% eBay fees. And then you see my net sales right there. I sold 180 items and I only spent $1,216 on cost of goods. That includes $230 that I spent on an online auction of items that I haven't even listed yet. So if you wanted to deduct that, you know, to do the 10,000, I only spent 1,000. That's a pretty huge return. And the reason my sales aren't in like the $12,000 to $13,000 range for this month, I think, is because I have replaced the trips that I normally take to Goodwill retail stores with trips to the Goodwill outlet. And so when you go to the outlet, you're sourcing more items, but they're lower dollar amount items. And yeah, you guys have seen me sell items for $100, $150 that I've sourced at the outlets, but the sourcing those items in retail stores, there's a much greater chance that I'm going to find that $200 bolo or that $300 bolo in a retail store much more than I would find at the Goodwill bins or at the outlet. So if I want to make more money, and I think you guys have heard me say this before, I simply have to source more and spend a little bit more. So rather than replace my outlet trips or vice versa, I just need to add more hours to my sourcing week and I would make a ton of money. But at 25 hours a week at a very part-time basis working on this eBay store, $10,000 is a pretty good number. So let's take a look at these 15 bolos. These are really, really good. So pay close attention to them. All right, we're going to kick it off with golf here. This is a Nike Method Concept putter. I'll tell you what, I found this on Marketplace for $40. I asked $30, he had it listed for $50, so we bet in the middle at $40. Great set of putters. They have different styles and variations. There's a comp that I will put on the screen here in just a second, one that sold for $500. Check Facebook Marketplace if you can find them because a lot of them sell for a very high dollar amount. So 40 bucks I paid, I took an offer of $127.49. This buyer is $151.68 all in. This was a fantastic sale. Look for them because they are still selling. We are still in golf season. This was a great bathing suit, perfect timing, a brand that sells well, at least for me in the small amount of items that I've sold that are Torrid. So Torrid skull print, flounce, one-piece bathing suit. It was in mint condition and I found this at the bins. So let's call it a couple bucks and this sold for $29.74. This buyer is $41.22 all in and this was another great find. Again, very timely. Golf, summertime, swimming, it's all kind of falling into place. So would I have sourced this if we were in maybe August or September? I don't know, but the fact that I found it early in the season, the timing was right to make this sale. So this was a good one. I think these bags or this brand was sold through QVC. You have to check me on that, but I found this one also on Facebook Marketplace and I did pay up for this one as well. So I listed it for $50. It is a Patrician Nash. I think the style is Leandra. It's tooled and the color is green. She makes some that are like red, the different colors, not just the green version. And this brand sells much better brand new, or at least there are more options that are brand new than there are for pre-owned. But this was a nice little bag. It was like 10 by 10 in mint condition, but I couldn't sell it as brand new. So I marked it as pre-owned and I took an offer of $115. So this buyer is $139.05 all in after shipping and after tax. And at $50, it's still a good return. Look for these bags, especially if you can get them in brand new condition. This is another good marketplace find. There are bolos and then there are bolos. This is one of those items that you really want to keep your eye out for. So if you write these things down that I say, this is one you're going to want to write down and remember. So it is a vintage Sunbeam. The style is AT-W toaster. If you notice on the picture, there's no adjuster up and down. So you just put the pieces of toast in and it lowers itself very slowly automatically. And then you can adjust if you want your toast light or you want it dark. You leave it there, and then when it is done doing its toasting, it raises the toast up very slowly as well. One of the most sought after toasters that you can find that is a vintage toaster, and this was a great sale. So I found this at Goodwill for $3.99, and I took an offer and sold it for $127.49. So this buyer is $167.03 all in. I can tell you I sold this low, so you can probably get between $150 and $200 if you find it. And mine was in fantastic condition, although I'm the worst at photographing chrome. It just is what it is, but 175 bucks, maybe even 200 if you find these. Keep your eye out for them. This is another really good bolo brand, and I'll tell you, even though I found this one, it's 66 North, the style is Vic, and the color was purple. Even though I got $60 for this, if you find this brand in black, you're gonna get $75 or more. So I found this at the Goodwill bins. It was very light, which made it very cheap. Let's call it a couple dollars, and this sold probably within 24 hours of me getting it listed. So 60 bucks, this buyer is $77.05 all in after shipping and tax. Keep your eye out for 66 North. It's a bolo brand. Even though we are moving into the summer months, this isn't a brand that's very easy to source in the United States. So if you find it, even if you're in the summer months, grab it because it's gonna sell, and it should sell relatively quickly, even in the summer months, so keep your eye out for it. This is a bolo that would have been $15, but I opened the package and I turned it into a $60 bolo. So I had a Wacky Packages like toy that I found at Goodwill, and I opened it because I looked through having done my research, and I'm thinking to myself, even though I only paid $3.99 for the whole pack, as I was researching the sold comps, it was apparent that some of the rare figures on the inside were worth more than the package itself. So I decided to open mine, and lo and behold, I got lucky and I opened one of the rare ones. So this is the Burden Milk. It's a small piece of plastic. It's unbelievable that somebody paid $60 for it, but they did. And so I turned a $15 bolo into a $60 bolo by simply opening up the package and taking a chance. So good move on my part. This buyer is $67.74 all in after shipping and after tax. There was a sold comp around $40, but that was an auction. So that person clearly made a mistake. So I shot high for 60 bucks, and I wanted to kind of be a little bit higher than that sale, but I wanted to fall a little bit lower than those that also had this particular figure listed. And so the stars aligned, and it worked out both ways. So I was happy to make this sale. Should you keep your eye out for Wacky Packages? They sell, but if you're willing to take a chance and open one and try to find a rare figure like I did, maybe you'll get lucky. Another bins find, if you've been following me, you saw me source this in one of my previous bin videos. So Orvis chore jacket. I mean, the size was great because it was a 2XL. $50 was the going rate at the time, so that's what I listed it and sold it for. This buyer is $65.92 all in after shipping and tax. It probably cost me between $6 and $7 at the bins when you pay by the pound because it was a little bit heavier. But I did see a recent sold comp that I think sold for more than $50. So even with the summer months coming up, this is still a fantastic bolo. The color is olive green. You'll see tan versions. They have a corduroy neck to them, but it is a great bolo, so keep your eye out for it and put this one on your list as well. This is the second Patagonia Messenger Bag that I sold in the month of April, and both of them I sourced at the Goodwill bin. So this is the half mass bag. It was in okay condition. It wasn't in destroyed condition, but it certainly wasn't mint, and it didn't really need to be cleaned up all that much. So it's just a strong brand, a brand that everybody should be out trying to source. And I got $45 for this, although I can tell you it's going to land for you in between $40 and $60 each and every time. It is a very consistent bolo in that price range. So I was happy to get $45. This buyer is $60.15 all in, and $2 to $3 again, because it wasn't terribly heavy, and I pay by the pound at the Goodwill outlet. Don't get lazy and assume that because Squishmallow is flooding the market that none of them have any value left over. So this is Wade the Werewolf. There's a couple of variations of Wade. This was one of the larger ones at 16 inches, and I didn't have any reasonable sold comparables to go on, so I shot for the stars and I sold this. So I sold it for 100 bucks. The buyer is $130.27 all in after shipping after tax. This was in my 5 Nights at Goodies video, if I remember correctly, so I think I only paid 99 cents for it. I actually sold it for $90, shipped it out to a buyer. That buyer complained that the thing was filthy and in terrible condition, returned it to me. I opened the box, looked like it was in the exact same condition that I photographed it in and sent it to her in. So I didn't adjust any of my pictures, didn't adjust the description, simply relisted it, even kept it in the box that I had originally packed it in, and then sold it to this fine person who left me glowing feedback. This thing was not filthy. It was in fantastic condition. Oh, and I got $10 extra for it. So great sale. All right, if you guys watched me take the bins trip to Dayton, Ohio, you will remember that I sourced this pair of shoes at those bins. So this is a great bolo. Again, another one with the Scarpa Mojito style in the gray color. The list to sell ratio is 1-to-1. So it's like everyone that gets listed is being sold. This is a very good bolo. And I think this one went overseas. I don't remember exactly, but I listed it for $49.99 and they sold for $45. This buyer is $73.91 after shipping and after tax. And again, $2 to $3 at the bins, but really please keep your eye on Scarpa in general. But the Scarpa Mojito in the gray color, list to sell 1-to-1. It's almost like you can't lose. The St. Louis Rams are now the Los Angeles Rams. So the vintage hats in the St. Louis market, they still sell, albeit a lot slower than one would think, or at least what I would have suspected. But vintage logo 7 hat here. I had this listed for a while and I picked it up at the bin, so it was 40 cents and it sold for $29.99. So this buyer is $44.66 all in. And again, I look for lots of vintage hats, especially when I see the logo 7 tag. I know that that's vintage, and you know, I'm more apt to pick that up than some of the other vintage hats that are just kind of hit or miss. But the fact that this was St. Louis and they've moved, I thought, you know, for nostalgic purposes, somebody would like it. And let's just say I got lucky. All right, if you're taking notes, write this one down as well. J. Crew 770 Kaihara Denim. This is a bolo for certain, so please keep your eye out for it. And this is one of the ones that no store is going to mark up unless your store is out of their minds and they're pricing all of their jeans at $25. But this is a really good bolo to focus on. So I got full price for these at $35, and this buyer is $45.69 all in after shipping and after tax. I sourced these at the bins, so it was just a couple dollars, but please keep your eye out for it because the list to sell ratio on this is excellent as well. For whatever reason, these are just like one of the higher end denim jeans that J. Crew manufactures. They sell well in the resale market, so it's evidence that it's well made. This was a very exciting find. So I've had this for maybe a couple of months and I think I paid $4.99 for it. I don't remember. I actually had this posted on my Instagram page, so you're welcome to follow me there, even though I'm not as active as I am in the YouTube comments and just in YouTube in general. But I had this posted and, you know, this eventually sold. So it sold for $200. It's an LL Bean wood advent calendar. It is definitely vintage. It was very well made. And this buyer is $233.92 all in. Now, I only paid, again, $5 for this, but if you look currently, there are 3 active listings and the highest priced one is $180. Don't make that mistake. Go into Terapeak if you have to, and I think you'll probably see some selling for over $200. So why on earth, unless you were desperate for the money, would you price this any lower than the $200 comp that you see right here? I would, if it were me again, knowing that, you know, in the next 4 months or so, Christmas items are going to ramp up in sales. I would be listing this between $200 and $250 and then taking offers in the $220 range. So you are free to price them however you price based on whatever your needs are in your business, but $200 at a minimum is what I would be doing the next time around. So keep that in mind. This was the perfect example of list and forget. A Les Miserables poster from the Imperial Theater. It's from 1990. I bought this, I think I paid $6.99 for it. I don't remember. I had it probably for a little over a year. It could be close to 2 years, but list and forget. Just put it in a portion of my basement and then, oh yeah, I remember that item. So a great sale at $100, and this buyer is $124.67 all in. And I actually see a sold comp that I will put on the screen of the same poster that was signed by the cast, and I think that one got over $200. So there's a few of these listed. I had mine, again, listed high, just waiting for the right buyer. So if you happen to come across it, don't be afraid to list it high, and you never know, you might get lucky. But this was a wonderful sale, and I just love the ones that like I totally forget about. And you're like, oh, there's basically like a free $100, even though I did pay $6.99 for it. Last one. This is full of like bolos that you really want to pay attention to, but this one is the one you probably want to hone in on the most. So this is vintage Monster in My Pocket. Now this brand is picking up steam based on the sales comp data that I was looking at not too long ago. So I bought this I want to say 1.5 to 2 years ago, and I think I paid $9.09. So I paid around $10 for it. This was at a Volunteers of America thrift store. And I priced it high because I knew what I had at the time, but I don't think sales velocity was as intense when I sourced it as it is now. So this is an emerging vintage brand that you really want to keep your eye out for. There were a set of 12 of these inside like this cool haunted house looking box. And I got full price for it at $200. So this buyer is $223.24 all in after shipping and after tax. And I have to tell you, this was a great way to settle the month of April. In one of my next videos that's coming up very shortly, I'm going to show you an insane pair of shoes that I have sourced recently, and then one of the hottest apparel brand bolos that you probably haven't heard of yet. I'm going to feature both of those in that video, so stay tuned. And then as always, hit that like button if you liked what you saw or you learned something today, and then always consider becoming a member of the Dad Planet family by subscribing and hitting the bell notification icon so that you know every single time I upload a video. So stay tuned for that. Brendan here, Dad Planet. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next video.